guests, dear colleagues, good morning. I'd like to welcome you on behalf of the University of Montenegro. For more than 17 years, the University of Montenegro, often in collaboration with other Montenegrin universities, has been involved in various programs for cooperation in the field of education funded by the European Commission. We strongly believe that these programs are a valuable tool in our efforts to increase internationalization of our higher education and to help us to become active participants in the European area of higher education. The benefits of the activities of the Academic Cooperation Association, whose networking event we are hosting today, are undoubtedly an important asset that we can use in order to enhance our performance and have better results of our efforts in the field of internationalization of education and training. So I hope that after our work today, we will all have a better understanding of the opportunities that are at our disposal, and we'll be able to think of the best ways of how to use them. So I'd like to thank the Academic Cooperation Association and the National Erasmus Plus office in Montenegro for the organization of this event, and I thank you all for coming here today.
Okay, good morning to everyone. It is my great pleasure to be here, and I would like to welcome you on behalf of the National Erasmus Plus office that actually supported a bit organization of this important seminar, networking seminar that Academic Cooperation Association is organizing in Montenegro. We really think that this is a great opportunity for Montenegro. I think that generally speaking, for this small society, small system, it is very important to be international, and we heard from Vice Rector already a few times word internationalization. I think that it is really a good opportunity to be able to discuss important elements of higher education developments in the Western Balkans and EU, and also to tackle some of the challenges that are ahead of all these countries. It is quite an asset having among us more than 10 countries, be it from European Union countries or from Western Balkan region, and to share experiences between ourselves in different segments of higher education development, share some good practices in the different aspects of higher education reforms, and of course try to find some modalities of cooperation, be it through EU programs. As I'm coming from National Erasmus Plus office, I'm primarily meaning cooperation modalities through Erasmus Plus program, and just yesterday the call for capacity building higher education projects, international credit mobility, was published officially on the web page. And it is also quite important that among the participants that we have today, we have quite different institutions, higher education institutions, different associations, national agencies. We have also Western Balkan Alumni Association representatives and many others. So it is I think that this will just add to the quality of our discussions today. And I think that we should really use this networking seminar to establish as many contacts as possible, and that I hope that by the end of the day we will come up with some new ideas for cooperation mechanisms, and that we will create some basis for further cooperation, be it, as I said, through Erasmus Plus possibilities or through some other cooperation schemes. And I won't keep your attention longer because during the day we will be able to hear quite a lot about different topics on the agenda, but I would like to give the floor to our guest, actually the organizer, major organizer of this event, from the part of Academic Cooperation Association, director of the association, Mr. Bernd Wächter, if I pronounced it well. Last but not the least, I give you the floor to address the audience on behalf of.
Thank you very much for the kind introduction. I feel extremely flattered. My name is rarely pronounced correctly, so this is one of the 1 or 2% of cases where I'm actually placed correctly. I hope very much welcome to all of you that you feel as well as I should look. But we're starting early. I'm changed from an early bird to a late bird, so not my stellar moment usually at 9 in the morning. We are indeed very grateful for the help that we got from the University of Montenegro and from Vanja and the NEO for organizing this on our own. We wouldn't have been able to put the show on the road or into this room or whatever. And we are very, very grateful for this. Who are we, by the way? You will not get lengthy explanations because at 9 I'm not up to this. You are lucky. At 12 you would have gotten very long ones. The Academic Cooperation Association is basically a family of national agencies that is not single universities or anything, but national agencies, as we call them, for internationalization of education or higher education. And that does include, in many cases, that they are the national agency for EU programs in the sense of the European Commission, but they can be also that in the national sense of just providing national scholarships or funding for international cooperation. Many of our members are here. Even more would have been here had not the airlines sort of ganged up against us. There is one gentleman in Budapest who will later address you and be with us from a distance. And thanks for this extra effort, because it was a bit of an exciting phase yesterday around midday when all of this had to be sorted out and newly arranged. Yeah, who are we? So we are a membership organization. You heard that already. The big national actors, some are bigger than others. Our biggest one is Germany's DAAD, that has a budget of almost €1 billion, I think, and others are 4 or 5 people and smaller budgets, but that is so in Europe because countries are of different sizes, and you're, by the way, not the smallest.
Not the smallest.
Yeah, but I'm married to an Icelander, and there they
advantage to a certain extent, I would say.
I would say so too, and I'm married to an Icelander, and they always correct you when you get the population number by 1,000 too low, because every 1,000 or 500 count, you see. And they feel a world power when they visit Liechtenstein, 30,000 people. So it's all relative, it's all relative. Yeah. ACA is doing all sorts of different projects. I don't want to go into the gory detail now, because you will also see some of them or hear about some of them in the course of this day. We are running international events, seminars, conferences. Our next conference, by the way, in more or less a year, in your region, if you still give them the benefit to be that, in Slovenia, in Bled, opposite or next to Ljubljana. We have publication series. We do publish quite a lot, even though most people read it only. It's not Harry Potter, you know, so it's the people read it mainly to go to sleep if they have problems with insomnia. But it's still quoted very much by other sleepless people, so I'm very astonished. We have regional foci, and one focus of these regional foci for the next, or focuses, I don't know, for the next 3 to 4 years is indeed your region, if I may say so, the Western Balkans, where we want to make a special effort. We, as you already indicated, I mean, would like to offer ourselves as a partner organization that can pass on quite a lot of relevant information and advice, but likewise, and very much so, we're here as learners. We're here as learners to learn from what I'm constantly told is a not easy to understand area of Europe. And I'm trying my best to understand it better every day. We all are. We, by the way, in ACA are sort of various entities. We are what I called last night, the reception structurally schizophrenic, and that is simply by definition so. We are my colleagues and myself in, say, the steering core, the administrative center, the whatever of the organization, but we are also, and very much more so, our members, who are the owners of the organization. We are their servants, really, and we are doing what they want to. So you are here actually meeting people who represent the likes of you, or many of you, from across Europe. Now, did I want to say much more? No, I've already indicated that we are very grateful to the university for being hosted here today, to the NEO of Montenegro, who has helped us put this show on the road. That would not have been possible otherwise. We are very helpful also to all of our members, and particularly their working group on the Western Balkans. We work on you day and night, Western Balkan working group. And with this, I think, because it's been already quite long, I close these few remarks, and I have now a far more important job to do, that is to distribute Belgian chocolates to the first ones around me, not to be eaten preferably all before noon. Vanya?
Okay.
Isa, Vice Rector?
Thank you.
It's my pleasure. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
So this is what I had to say at the outset. I might not be able to keep my mouth shut later, but that is... So we are now turning, in fact, to the next point in the program. The next point in the program has been slightly changed. The gentleman there on the screen, Martin Beker from TPF, Tempest Public Foundation in Hungary, was supposed to chair it. He is going to speak to us later, but we found that via Skype that might be sort of difficult. I mean, to chair, you need to get the body language, and someone kicks you and then you know they are not agreed, so that is a bit difficult to experience from a screen. So he is in fact going to be represented or replaced, not replaced, God, one cannot replace him, and the lady is not a replacement, from a colleague from what was known earlier Seymour, but has has changed into no, but anyway, from Tzimepius. I am extremely sorry, get it all wrong. You will notice from my remarks that yesterday evening has been lively, so I still feel some of the effects. No, and you will be kind enough to moderate the coming session, which is higher education in the Western Balkan region, developments and aspirations. And there, the idea is that speakers from the region enlighten us about what is going on and how we should understand the region. Correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Brent. Welcome. So nice to see all of you here. So my name is Petra. I come from Cmepius, from Slovenia, not from Finland, although we're near.
It's almost the same.
Almost the
For
same.
Martians like me.
So thank you all for being here with us. Today I have an interesting panelist group. We have decided to make it a bit different this time. I hope everybody hears me well. With the mics all around. So my colleague panelists are set all around so that we also stimulate conversation and questions from your side. This is an open panel. We would really like to see more questions from your side for you to explain what are the points of view from your country, from your institution, to get the dialogue and the communication going. Now to present my co-panelists. Vanya has already introduced herself and gave you a welcome note. On my left side, Nemanja Dragicevic from the Foundation Tempus Serbia. Then we have on the other side, Aleksandar Bogojevski from the National Agency of European Education Programs and Mobility. And also on my left side, Suat Muhibic from the National Erasmus Office, Bosnia and Herzegovina. Welcome to you all and thank you for being with me here today. So first of all, as we already spoke, I would kindly invite you, each and every one of you, to give us a brief presentation of your organization and at the same time to tell us a couple of words in regard to the EU agenda and what do you believe that your most interesting and most challenging topics are in your country. I would ask Vanya to start, please.
Okay, thank you. Actually, I'm coming from National Erasmus Plus office, and we are a small office, a really small office, but we are actually dealing with some of the actions of Erasmus Plus that are focused on higher education development, primarily capacity building in higher education, international credit mobility, also Jean Monnet, not so used, but would be very important for us. And actually, I would say that Montenegro is quite good in the efforts to reform higher education in Montenegro together with EU partners and partners from the Western region, and also involving other regions as of recently in the projects. I think that although we have these priorities on the list in all the calls, we all have the priorities also at the national levels that are in line with our strategies on higher education development. And as you know, for local people, of course they know, but for the foreigners it is important to know that Montenegro has only one public university and 3 private universities. One of the private is as of very recently, it was last year. So we are, in that sense, let's say, we are a small system compared to the other systems of the Western Balkan region. But I would say that it gives us also a quite of advantage because we can be more flexible in certain terms and maybe more open to different kinds of cooperation. And I would say that really that academic community in Montenegro really built a lot of capacities through EU programs, primarily meaning Tempus program and projects developed through Tempus, and of course through Erasmus Plus. Now we are quite, let's say, selective in terms of choosing partners, in terms of choosing topics, because it was not so at the very beginning of the process, because we wanted to get ourselves recognized at the international scene, to get connected to as many higher education institutions as possible, to establish as many contacts as possible. But as the time passes, I would say that we are striving towards a more quality-oriented approach, really being selective in terms of partners, in terms of topics to be addressed, in terms of priorities, really to make it to do something which is really of high importance for our system. Also, being a small country and a small system, as it is quite an advantage, still if you make some mistakes, these mistakes are more noticeable in small systems as compared to the bigger system, where if you make a mistake it's nothing, but so we can't afford ourselves that luxury of making so many mistakes. From that point of view, also, you see, we for us, every chance to get in contact with international environment is of extreme importance, and I also think that through that this seminar will in the end up with quite a lot of new contacts and new ideas for the projects. As also Vice Rector mentioned many times, internationalization is one of the, let's say, important issues for us. Although internationalization is quite a general, let's say, term, and can be this and can be that, but still, I think that, again, making reference to these small systems, it is important to be more visible and to be more attractive. In terms of students' mobility, for example, we would like to have, because I would say also that we are quite good in, if we say in numbers, in terms of mobility, although I am not in favor of this too much, not only numbers, but because it's this quantitative, I'm more in favor of this qualitative approach, but still I would say that we are really making good efforts to reach this qualitative number of mobilities, both as regards students, teaching, and administrative. Administrative also is a very important aspect of development of capacities at the level of administrative staff at the university. This is really something which needs to be highlighted quite a lot, because very often it is without reason, or maybe people don't think, and it is somehow neglected in a way, but it is something that moves the system also, and without this support it is not possible also to make this internationalization in whichever aspect we consider internationalization without the support of this administrative staff at the universities. So from that perspective, coming back to what I already said, although I make a lot of digressions, sorry for that, that it is important for us also to make this incoming mobility also a reality for us, because at the moment is not so, there are not so many people coming, more going there. But in the period to come, I think that university already on the way to somehow create some basis to develop programs, study programs in English, to try to work more on the exchange of teachers, try to work more on the on attracting foreigner students. So I would say for the moment it is one of the goals. Of course, in all these segments, quality, I would underline the quality aspect of all these processes, not just about promotion, being visible just for the sake of being visible, but really to offer some high quality services, and to be able in the future also to, for example, we are not, we don't have at the moment joint programs with other countries, but having all these partnerships already established, and all of these projects behind us and ahead of us, I think that we are really in the mature phase to also work on this issue as well. So I don't know, there are quite a lot of things to be said, but I think that we should give the floor also to the other panelists, and then we will discuss the other topics for the time being. I'd say this is one of the issues that could be discussed and further elaborated. Let's say.
Thank you for it was a nice presentation of the current situation. So if we go from a small country to a bigger country. Oh, okay. I'll speak closer to the microphone. Nemanja, so your country has been participating in these programs for a very, very long time. So how would you describe, first of all, just a brief presentation, and then what were the benefits, and of course the challenges that still remain?
Hello, everyone. First of all, thank you for inviting us here. I come from Foundation Tempus. Foundation Tempus is founded in 2002 by state universities in Serbia in order to facilitate the participation in the programs of the European Community, European Union. Since 2002, we have been working with more than just Tempus program. And currently we are 99% national agency of Erasmus Plus in Serbia, since Serbia is 99% program country. So we are, what is pending, and what I'm saying is 90% is we still have not formalized the agreement with the European Commission, so as a country. So although all the partners agree that it will happen, we always say this, we always put this little notification that it's still not fully done. So as of the 1st of January, we will probably, most probably, almost sure, be the program country and be the national agency of Serbia. In that sense, we have been doing this for quite some time, and in general, there are similarities, similar problems and issues that are common for the region. But I will not be concentrating on that. I think I'll just leave that to other panelists. What I would like to say is that what we do maybe differently, maybe not. Currently we deal with taxation. We figure that we will have lots of our students, primarily taxation of students, student grants. We will have lots of students going out from Serbia and coming in Serbia, which are going to be paid by our universities. Currently, laws in Serbia do not have the slightest idea about what the individual grant is. So they either see it as an income or either see it as a kind of state scholarship, which is defined on a very, very low amount, and everything else, everything above that is should be taxated, yeah? Okay, so what we would have in reality is that students would have pretty large chunk of their grant being stripped for taxes. So that is the one thing we are actually dealing with the Ministry of Education and Ministry of Finance, and we believe that we will be able to make a kind of tax exemption on the grants from Erasmus Plus. Well, not just Erasmus Plus, but Erasmus Plus and other programs in which the Republic of Serbia has signed the agreements with other states or other entities. The other thing is internationalization, of course, which is also kind of current topic in Serbia and is kind of getting the momentum. In that sense, there are several things. We also have this visa initiative with the Ministry of Interior, so we're kind of preparing for all the incoming students from EU, but also from other countries, as we, apart from Erasmus Plus, we are kind of expecting the push from the government to cooperate with on bilateral cases with other countries outside of Europe. Also with that, I think that one of the key issues which we have in Serbia, and I believe it is kind of common in the region, we also talked last night about that, is the offer of study programs and courses in English language that are taught in English language. properly taught. So not just by consultative processes or through writing papers, but fully lecture courses with full lectures and examination in English. And that is something that is currently being tackled. We think of and we are planning some kind of schemes or incentives for our universities or professors to foster this process, to actually create more, to create larger offer in English language, just to be like that. And I think that's something that we currently see as some most important topics at the moment. So yeah, there are other issues, of course.
Of course.
Yeah.
It's a very broad area, very broad program.
Sure.
So thank you very much. I will move now to my right side. So Alexander, you're also a smaller country, have been also participating, all of you, in the programs for a longer period of time. Where do you see your country at this moment?
First of all, I would like to thank you for the invitation for today. For a reason that as Republic of Macedonia, we are a program country and we are full participants in the Erasmus Plus program. So we can share our positive and also negative experience regarding higher education in the Erasmus Plus program. I would like to say that most challenging for Republic of Macedonia in the upcoming period is utilization of the funds, recognition of credits, and also the most challenging is about increasing of incoming of the mobilities from the European Union countries. For the first question about utilization of the funds, maybe most of us are aware that from 2020 the Erasmus Plus budget will be doubled, so it will be approximately 30 billion euros for this upcoming period of 7 years. So this means that the budget for higher education for Republic of Macedonia will be doubled. So this is also a challenging process that will need higher efforts for utilization of these funds, and also preparing of universities to double their efforts regarding and increasing of mobilities, outgoing and also incoming of the students' mobilities. Also, I would like to mention that since 2009, we have been as national agency in the preparatory measures until 2014. And from 2014, we are full participants in the Erasmus Plus program, so we can share also our positive and negative experience, of course, for the partnerships. Because in the preparatory measures, not all actions are open for the Erasmus Plus offices or for the national agencies that they want to become a program country. Also, regarding recognition of the credits, we managed to develop one system that is similar between higher education institutions in our country for recognition of credits, because and also in the Erasmus Charter that is also signed by the legal representatives from the universities that they must recognize credits from the universities all around Europe and also all around the world, according to the International Credit Mobility 1070 section from the Erasmus Plus. In the upcoming period, I hope that for international credit mobility, this action it will be more developed by the Western Balkan countries, and I hope that after 2020, this is my personal opinion, that most of the Western Balkan countries will become part of the Erasmus Plus program. So in the upcoming period we can also share our experience from the ICM 107 action from the Erasmus Plus 103 and also higher education between the program countries in the field of partnerships. So I'm here today as a representative from the national agency, and according to our experience we can also, I hope that we can answer all the questions that you have bearing in mind for this session today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Last but not least, Bosnia. Bosnia is a specific country in itself. So Suad, if you could give us a couple of... is Becca still here? He's having difficulties participating, no? Yeah, he is. I'm going to give him a ring afterwards. So, just in the context, we have addressed already many common topics and common challenges, I think, that are quite mutual to all the countries participating in the Erasmus Plus program. But if you could present your country in this context.
Okay, thank you. I will try briefly. First of all, again, thank you for the invitation. I'll just say that we are the National Erasmus Plus office. We are the focal point in the country with regards to the Erasmus Plus program, and we work closely with the European Commission, the EU delegation, our national authorities, higher education institutions, and all other actors. And our aim is really to promote the program and facilitate the implementation of the Erasmus Plus projects, which are currently ongoing. We often go in the field and we monitor the implementation of projects, and we, based on the feedback that we receive, we have really identified some key challenges and obstacles in implementation. And considering that Serbia is becoming a program country, which is a very good development, and I congratulate you on that. Bosnia is now the remaining one of four, which is the largest of the four countries in the region, and we are fully aware of the possibilities and challenges. So we really we want to increase our capacity to enhance our involvement in the program. So we have one of the key challenges that we face right now is the accreditation of study programs. This is something that our office, actually, as a matter of fact, yesterday we had a meeting with the European Commission, EU delegation, and we will continue in the coming weeks and months to also involve relevant national agencies involved in the process of accreditation study programs, because we see it as one of the key barriers that might infringe the implementation of the projects, and also limit our ability to really. And when I say we have currently 48 higher education institutions in the country, and including 8 public, and the remaining are private higher education institutions. And 30 of these are accredited, but some of them need to be re-accredited. And then the accreditation of study programs is at the initial stage, and it has encountered some difficulties, and we will try to really resolve it in close cooperation with the relevant authorities and the EU Commission. The second challenge is the internationalization. When we go to the field and see, we really often see that the mobilities are, in general, especially international mobility, is limited due to the obstacles, language obstacles. For instance, we have some courses offered in English, but as Nemanja said, and I fully share his concern, we have the same challenge. We need to increase the offer in English. One of the possibilities is to, at least at the second level, master level, to introduce some master studies fully in English. Again, it's a challenge for higher education institutions, but it is indeed one of the, because we cannot attract foreign students unless we provide English taught courses. We can only attract students from the region, but it's not a sufficient pool of students. To really open up for the world and seize the opportunities within the Erasmus Plus, we see this. I think it's a common challenge for all countries. We need to offer more courses in English or other languages. It doesn't have to be limited to English. I mean, some countries like Spain, they can afford not to have, although they have, but they can afford not to have English or German taught courses, because they have a large pool of Spanish-speaking students from all over the world, from Latin America and other regions, so they can afford really but we cannot. We are a small region, and our language is not widely spoken outside of the region, so we have to really do this. So we will try to encourage higher education institutions to think in that direction to really maximize the benefit of this program. So again, there are many other challenges, but our challenges are internal, because we are a highly decentralized country and very complex country when it comes to the governance. So cantonal ministries, we have 14 ministries of education, basically 14 authorities, different authorities with full authority for higher education and education in general. So, but I don't want to bother you with these. These are our internal issues. We will have to find a way how to facilitate the communication among these different ministries to really to improve the success. That's key. But again, we will speak about more. But again, like I think the key is to remove obstacles for mobility, and also use the opportunities to enhance the capacity through capacity building projects of our institutions. And there have been in the past some projects, and also we are envisaging some more projects that with an aim to really increase the capacity of our higher education institutions to participate more effectively in the program. Thank you for your.
Perfect, thank you. So maybe at this point, any questions? Oh, perfect. If you could just state your name, please, and where you come from.
Sorry. Can you hear me? No. I will start now there. Hello, my name is Vladimir Mikic, and I come from Western Balkans Association. We are really new association that deals with alumni that have been there as they're part of the studies at the exchange mobility in the Erasmus Plus program, or they have been studying at Master's or PhD of Maria Curie that we have our colleague here. My general comment is to Bosnia office and Montenegro office. Both offices have been around 2001 or 2002. Okay. Correct me if I'm wrong. Serbia also. Yes. How did Serbia achieve that much progress, but these two countries didn't? So that's my main issue. Well, with the opposite, sorry. So because Serbia is taking part, is becoming program country next year. So how are you going to accommodate all those, let's say, obligations that Serbia had towards the Erasmus Plus program? Thank you.
Vanya, do you want to answer, or do you want me to answer?
Well, whatever I can also say for Montenegro, Montenegro will be probably the next in line for this in this regard, in this direction. But you know, it is not an easy process. It depends on many things. We started with participation in Tempus program in 2001. And at that time, it was not at all known program. Our institutions were not so, were not cooperating much, and were not involved in similar projects. So it took quite a lot of time, first of all, to build capacities within the academic community, to be able to establish partnerships that are sustainable, to try to reform programs, because at that period, we were in the process of aligning our reforms in line with the EU trends, with the Bologna process, trying to somehow make our programs more attractive, trying to, and at the beginning, as I said, it was not so important. We were getting into all the partnerships and all different kinds of projects. We were not allowed in the first place to be leaders, coordinators of the projects. Little by little, country was gaining on experience. Of course, that in the period of time that would be an issue for us, and we are in a kind of negotiation. But it's also depending on the decision of the Ministry of Education and the real commitment to that process, because it takes time, as you can also ask Serbia, because they already went through this process, that it takes quite a lot of time to get yourself prepared. It's not just, say, I would like to have the agency and we will establish agency, because once you establish agency, it means that all the activities and actions of the programs are open to the country, but on the other side, you have to pay entry ticket, which at that time that we, quite some years ago, we discussed about it. Also, it was some, let's say about 2 million euros for Montenegro. It was like foreseen entry ticket, which also means that we can't afford ourselves not to have all our institutions in the country prepared, starting from the preschool, school, elementary, secondary, adult education, and in the end, when we have all these open trials, our institutions can absorb at least the funds that we get paid into the program. So this is something which will not, let's say, Montenegro will also get into it. I think the next country will be Montenegro, but still it will take some time in the first place to get the institutions, of course, apart from the administrative part, capacity building of the staff that they aid future agency, you know, all these things. Also, on the other side, to get all the national institutions prepared to be able to absorb the funds. In terms of higher education cooperation, for example, international credit mobility projects, as you know, when you get a project, it doesn't mean necessarily that you will absorb all the funds that are available. It also depends always on the national institutions, whether they will promote enough, whether it will be attractive enough, whether there will be flexibility or mechanisms for recognition. There are many different factors, and it's all up to us. So it is not that we don't want to get into it, but it wasn't the time to. You have to be really ready to get into this process and to use the capacities and opportunities of the
Yeah, and then Alexander also asked.
Can I just
yeah.
add a second? I would just reconfirm what Vanya has said. You know, whether a country becomes a program or partner country doesn't depend on national Erasmus offices. It's a political issue, which, I mean, a political decision has to be made by the decision makers, which is outside of our control. So it has nothing to do with us. It's totally outside of our control. It's a political decision, depends on the other actors, and we are just the implementers.
Yes, but I just wanted to underline the complexity of the process it requires. I don't know how many years it took Serbia.
Well, few years, but at least 2
years.
preparatory
Yes, preparatory,
calls.
but there are 56, as I know, persons at the moment working in the...
In Macedonia, how many years did you need?
I would like to share our experience for Macedonia, bearing in mind that since 2008 we started with preparation measures for establishing national agency for Erasmus for lifelong learning and youth in action. Because in the previous program, most of us, I'm sure that are familiar with the previous programs, lifelong learning program and youth in action. And for 1 year, since 2009, we started with preparatory measures for the program lifelong learning and youth in action. After several years, we had in 2014, because this process is not for 1 or 2 years, and also bearing in mind that this is not decision for the national agency. If the employees in the national agency or Erasmus Plus offices, they want to become a member country or program country. So it depends most of the institutions and the capacity of the country, for a reason that this is a process that is not only for this decision, as I mentioned before, as a decision for the employees in the national agency. So also entry tickets is one of the reasons maybe in Montenegro, but I would like to underline that if you pay the entry ticket for the Erasmus Plus, this is also obligation for each year after becoming a member of the Erasmus Plus family. But these funds, because Montenegro is not still a member of the European Union, and also Serbia and Macedonia and Bosnia, these funds, more than 90%, they will be returned to your country through IPA funds. So this is also a good opportunity to be mentioned over here. But at least, I hope, as I mentioned before, I hope that after 2020, Montenegro, Albania, Bosnia, they will become members of the Erasmus Plus. And also this is a focal point that employees, also employees in the ministries for education, employees in the ministries for finance, in our governments, they should be much more aware for the possibilities of the Erasmus Plus program. In 2009, we started with three higher education institutions that were involved in the lifelong learning program in the part of the higher education. Now we have 23 higher education institutions that are active in the field of higher education in 1 or 3 mobilities between program countries. Most of them are also active and they applied in the 107 International Credit Mobility. There are partners in the capacity building projects that are in the that are managed. This section that is managed by the executive agency directly in Brussels. So, in this period of from 2014 until today, I can say that we upgraded our higher education, internalization of the higher education, and also I hope that in the upcoming period, these 3 countries, 4 countries, all the countries from the Western Balkans, we should encourage our employees in the national Erasmus Plus offices, also in the ministries. We should encourage governments and representatives from the parliaments, representatives from ministries, especially from the ministries for education and science, that this is a main point for becoming one family, not in the field of higher education, also in the other fields of education. Because this program is more of 30 years active in the field, in the European Union field. We are quite lucky that we are a part of the Erasmus Plus program as a country also. And as I mentioned from the start of my speech, that this is not only for funds that higher education institutions they can manage and they can be aware for internalization of the higher education. This is also about becoming a part of one family that have a similar but unique higher education institution system. This is the main and the focal point. It's not about entry ticket. It's not about how many students will travel and will have international mobility. But we have also here non-formal aspects of education. These non-formal and informal aspects of the education are also quite important for higher education and also for other educational areas in our country. Because in the mindset of the people, of the students, of the people that are involved in the Erasmus Plus program, it's a little bit different than other students that they don't have internalization or international credit mobility. So I can assure you that when you will become a program country, you'll have much more opportunities for the citizens of your country, and also you will have much more. As a short note, I would like to say this is like out of the box. I would like to underline in the end of my speech that this is like becoming aware about opportunities out of the box and out of the everyday stuff that are coming.
And the mentality, yeah, perfect, thank you. Sorry, Bernd, the question from the gentleman there was before you, so please.
Yeah. Okay. First of all, to introduce myself, my name is Radovan Stojanovic. I'm coming from Univerzitetu Crne Gore and I'm professor at Faculty of Electrical Engineering here. You are very young and I always feel the need to tell few words about the 10% Erasmus. Not because I like to speak about these programs. Always to mention you that you are on one historical mission, because there is no any European program of such historical, let's to say, and tradition like Tempus Erasmus. It's already 3 decades old. Can you imagine one program that is 3 decades old? I remember that I started this program in 1991. And 1990 in June was the first Committee of European Union establishing this program. And first the members of the program outside the European Union were Czechoslovakia, Poland, and Hungary. But you should know that after that, 1 year later, the program joined 3 countries, Bulgaria, Romania, and Yugoslavia. And Yugoslavia was one of the first members of the Tempus program. And can you see now where we are? Yugoslavia was the establisher, one of the establishers of the programs, and we are now speaking who will join the program, who will be the coordinators, and who will be now the holders of the program. Macedonia, Bosnia, Montenegro, Serbia, and so on. But it's not point. The point is that is one of the, let's to say, by my opinion, most fruitful European program. The name was Trans-European Mobility Program for University Studies in this Tempus. Originally means in this study. And if you see these computers here, if you see all the equipment around the Balkan region, all are from the Tempus and Erasmus. Erasmus is relatively young. It's about 3 years old. 3 years old.
The name has changed, but
Yeah,
the context is the same.
The name is changed.
The name changes every...
But what I want to point to you, what was the key secret of the Tempus that we don't have now? Now we are skipping the steps, always. But Tempus, the key point of the Tempus was no research, development, and technology without good education. And first we should establish education, and after that to go to deal with research. That is the problem why many of our Balkan countries and the Western Balkan countries failed in the Horizon FP6, FP7, different, let's just say, cutting-edge research program. Because they should first to establish good education, and after from educated field to recruit people for research. And we are very proud here in Montenegro and region that was the European spirit. For me, European spirit came by Tempus and Erasmus program. About 90% of the students, 90% of the staffs from these countries starting to do research, integration, mobilities via those 2 programs. From this point of view, you should actively to participate how to define the future directions of these programs. We have now, that is very good, extended to the youths, extended to the other target groups, extended to the other mechanisms, and so on and so on. And I can only oversee very, very, very nice future of this program, because this program is really fitting for our region and our countries. I don't have any questions, because for me all questions are very, very clear regarding this program. Only to say a few words about compliments that we have now. In the beginning, the Tempus and the Erasmus was the priorities of the institutions. That is good now. We have associations like you all, like all the mister, that are dealing with this topic. That is one good step forward to do better public governance of the program and to extend the program to the wider community. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bernd.
Yes, I've been listening very carefully. I'm extremely tempted to answer, especially since I'm also, given my age, a bit of a historian of European engagement in higher education, but I won't. I wanted to ask all the agents, I mean, you have made it clear implicitly, all the ones who have spoken now, that the European programs have been seen as a blessing, despite all sorts of technical or organizational pitfalls or whatever, that probably can never be 100% avoided. You have made it clear that you welcome this. You also have to say this because you're running it, part of running it as a national agency. I've once been the head of a national agency, so I feel sort of projected 25 years back in time. But I wanted to ask you, is internationalization, is there an equal sign, 100%, between internationalization in higher education in your countries and European programs? Is there nothing else? Is there no institutional ambitions, ideas, we do it differently, without money it's probably very difficult, or that there might be national sources, there might be, even supranational sources, perhaps, I don't know. The Norwegians have their fund.
There's CIPUS. There's CIPUS.
There is CIPUS, exactly. There's this regional activities of this sort. EA funds. So I'm just interested. I mean, because you seem to be happy with this. I had feared that you would feel a bit in the situation of colonized countries rather than countries that, you see.
There are also national funds. I mean, as what concerns Montenegro, I mean, there are certain reforms that are in line with in our strategy. So we are following our strategic approach. If there are funds that can support this reform, of course it is more than welcome, but definitely there has always been some kind of based on the possibility to finance. We can perhaps not finance at a certain extent, but still there has always been like a national strategy and national funds available for certain actions. Of course, if you, but for example, these programs really helped reforms in the sense that if there something is in the strategy of Montenegro and we have on the other side EU programs supporting such things, then we normally benefited from what has been offered to make use and to absorb the funds available, not to use the national funds and use it for something else, not to overlap. At least as far as Montenegro is concerned, being a small country and small system, and you know what is going on in the country in each and every field, so we were trying to join the efforts and try not to overlap fundings and overlap ideas. For example, in the face of the calls, we very often have like discussions on what is important in the future period, and if there is something being financed from the other sources. For example, there was a case of Western Balkans, a World Bank loan project that also had a component of higher education development. And from time to time, we had meetings with them in order to make some synergies between the projects being financed by temples and the World Bank loan project, and of course, all in the context of the national strategic approach. And I have to say that we had, for example, examples that we had project on tracing of student success started within Tempus. They took over the methodology from the World Bank loan project and upgraded it later on. So that it's not that we don't plan or that we don't have it in our, that we don't think of it, but just we are doing what is, I mean, we are making projects because it is offered and we don't have the approach. Yes, we have the approach, we have the funds, perhaps not enough funds for what we would like to achieve. And there we see the EU, let's say, the funds that can help us develop. Of course, also as what the colleague from Western Balkans Association said, the idea is, it doesn't depend, of course, from National Erasmus Plus Office, whether it will be established this year or in the 2 years period, but still, it is a lot most important to get yourself well prepared, because establish something for the sake of being established. That is what we are also saying to our projects. Establish center this, establish center that. If those centers or agencies or whatever programs are established and after the project ends, we don't have any sustainable results, but it was just to satisfy the project, how the way it was proposed or foreseen. It's really, I mean, in essence, it doesn't make any sense. So this preparation phase and really full of people that can really take over this whole process and take it till the end, have sustainability in terms of human resources. I think it's of really great importance, because at the end of the day, those people will be the ones that will also prepare the others to be able to absorb the funds, because we also have the responsibility towards, as we now have responsibility towards the EU that is giving us money for these projects. We will have in the future also responsibility to our national authorities, to our country that is giving money for a program, and so we should get really well prepared to be able to use this. Although it will be, I know that it will be 90% from IPA reimbursed, but still it is always someone's money. So we have to be really responsible and get ourselves prepared.
I know from the Slovenian point of view, for example, with the CITES program, which has a better impact than Erasmus, for example, because of the long-term cooperation between the countries, especially us from the ex-Yugoslavia. We have many PhD master students because the mobility is shorter, so they would stay, and we have many, actually numerous joint publications, articles, for example, that within Erasmus, because of a different kind of a tempo, this is also an issue. But before I give you the floor, just maybe in regards to other programs, what Bernd was asking, as I mentioned, we do have CEPUS, but we also have bilateral agreements, and we also have stimulations. For example, in Slovenia, we offer scholarships for PhD and master students coming from these regions for studies. So there is a wider floor for cooperation.
I can. Yeah. Okay. So in Serbia, we also have, well, apart from what you said, just we have this World in Serbia program. So basically, it's the government scholarship. So people from around the world can actually apply and go to graduate or postgraduate studies to spend some time. I think it's not for the full course of the studies, but and they get some scholarship, which is not really high amount, but something. But they get housing. They also get all the, of course, tuition fees waived and everything. So, in that sense, there are things. But I mean, I think that Serbia is actually maybe a few years ago started slowly opening up in this sense of internationalization, looking for other regions, areas, not looking only at Europe. So that's the thing. And Also, the thing with there are things in this process that you do not necessarily need money for. So, like creating your system to be efficient and flexible enough, and also promoting it to other regions. But the thing is that, and what we are devising right now, we are in the process of, is actually this national scheme to kind of push this. Professors and lecturers to kind of have bigger offer in English, just to attract the foreign students, foreign from not only for Europe, from Europe, and actually Europe is not even the target, but the third markets for, well, not Serbia, not EU, but the third countries. But the thing is, it's a sensitive topic basically, but once you connect the internationalization with financing of the higher education, you will probably get more activities on internationalization point. So
Yeah.
It's a push. So
and I'm
yeah,
sorry, just to refer back, just to say, I mean, becoming the program country is much more than higher education. There are other, and Erasmus Plus actually is much larger than higher education. So in that sense, yeah, but being partner country in the Western Balkans in Erasmus Plus for higher education is not really worse than being program country. Not really, because in Western Balkans you can be coordinator of lots of projects which other regions cannot, and you can also draw some funds that you cannot as a program country. So in that sense, looking only from perspective of higher education, I'm not sure that becoming the program country is that much of a beneficial to the sector in that sense, specifically for the Western Balkans.
I think that's a very good point he made. So, any of the other colleagues commenting on other schemes?
We can follow.
Yeah, maybe just Alexander or Sud would like to add anything. Okay.
I would like just to add regarding Western Balkan Alumni Association. I have been guest at the opening remarks of the Western Balkan Alumni Association that was held in Ohrid in Macedonia. This was the initial meeting for the Western Balkan Alumni Association. And I would like to mention that as an association you should also improve your skills regarding Erasmus Plus, in manner that you can be also support for the Erasmus Plus offices. You can also be support about becoming a program country, about regulations, about supporting in the meaning of staff for Erasmus Plus offices, support for communication between Erasmus Plus offices, ministries for education and science, governments, parliaments, etc. So there is not the point that we should just ask Erasmus Plus offices why Bosnia or Albania or other countries from the Western Balkans are not yet program countries. This is also institutional approach, and the institutional approach is the most important in this process. It's not about employees or representatives from the Erasmus Plus offices, because as I'm familiar, there are so less staff in the Erasmus Plus offices in the Western Balkan countries. Their work in these offices, we have 2 or 3 employees, maybe 5 employees in the Erasmus Plus offices. Just to compare, in our national agency for European education progress and mobility, today we are more than 40 employees. Yeah. We are working also in the Key Action 1, Key Action 2, Key Action 3, of course, regarding program country activities. So, as Western Balkan Alumni Association, I would like to mention and to underline that you can be also support to become a program country in the Erasmus Plus family. Maybe in the after 2020 it will be another name, but I'm quite sure that this program will stay the same with a little bit differences in the upcoming period.
Okay, thank you. So before I give, sorry, just for the colleague, if you had.
I think you misunderstood my question. My question was why didn't you become the program country? My question was, what are your plans to become the program country? So I'm not attacking you personally or your offices, as you stated before. And my also question was, second question was, do you have any plan for advocacy? As you're saying, like, there is institutional problem. How did Serbia solve the issue of advocacy in the institutions to help them become program country? I know there are some setbacks, drawbacks, some more opportunities to become partner or program country, but for now there is like a huge amount of money that is going to be at your program country. So my question was, what are your plans for the future? I didn't like you specifically, as Ms. Trljevic said, like she took it personally or something like that. I was just asking, what are your plans for the future? Because there is new budget for Erasmus Plus. It's not yet approved, but there is more people coming to Western Balkans, and they are finally including Western Balkans region more into Erasmus program. So my question is, what are your plans to do something like that? And thank you, Alexander, for that. We are already planning to do more with national offices and national agencies wherever we can, and to cooperate more with universities and even ministries. Me personally, from Bosnia, we are already having meetings with ministries of education on all levels, so we are having some progress there during mentioning institutional problems. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I would include your question in the final conclusion, and maybe just go to the colleague from Greece.
In case you don't remember, my name is Kyriakos Athanasiou. I'm the head of IKI, that is the National Agency for Erasmus+. And I would like to make a comment, which is the continuation of what I didn't get your name, the colleague from Montenegro, Professor.
Elena Radovan Stojanovic.
Thank you. He made a point about the new developments that we have here in the Balkans. And he mentioned the new situation we have. Instead of Yugoslavia, we have various countries that are now part of the international community. And I want to mention two other developments and one dream I have. So the second development is quite recent and refers to relationships we have between Greece and Fyrom. It seems that the present governments are going to solve the name problem, which opens the door, the way for a better collaboration, not only between Greece and North Macedonia, as we're going to call it from now on, I hope after May, but it seems that opens the way to help the collaboration between all the Balkan countries. And I come to my third point, the third development that is on the way. I am referring to year 2024, where Europe, European Union, is going to have 20 more, because we have one now, in case you don't know it. We have one European university, which is in Italy, Rome, and where is the international university?
Firenze.
What?
Near Firenze, and there's another one in Poland and in Belgium, with two.
Belgium
campuses.
European University?
College of Europe, yeah.
Not
Naturally, in Warsaw and...
But such university, European, that all the countries are subscribing and giving fees and participating, all European countries, is my mind has stopped. Is in which is the most historic city of Italy?
It doesn't really. Sorry, I complicated.
Not Bologna, not
Florence.
Firenze, see.
Florence has a real European university.
It's not so extremely real.
Sorry?
Have you been there? It's not so extremely real. it could be in better shape.
I disagree. It's a long discussion. The thing is that by year 24, the dream or the programming of the European Union is to have 20 more European universities. And this opened the door for thinking, for problematizing, for asking questions, and whether or not we as Balkan countries, we are going probably play in this game. And probably we have to start to think about the possibility to have a Balkan university, international university within the European Union. And the question is whether we're going to leave the problem to be solved to our governments, to our ministers of education, or we as national agency, we are going to play some game on that issue, because if you don't know it, for the next 2 years, there are going to be 4 pilot programs within the Erasmus Plus program that are going to be part of this question. This is what I want to mention and what to bring about in the conversation. Thank you.
Thank you. I am conscious of the time, but we did start 15 minutes late. So, and I can see everybody can serve themselves with a cup of coffee on the table. So I will cut into I will sort of eat your break a bit. We have another question, so please.
Good morning. It's more a comment like a question because the West Balkan Alumni Association was mentioned. First of all, my name is Michael Gulau and I'm the community manager now for the Western Balkan Alumni Association. We just started 2 weeks ago with a contract with the Commission, and we will have this weekend the first regional meeting here in Montenegro, where all 6 countries will be present, like also Sabahudin. So it's also kind of an offer if we can support or be a partner of you in the Western Balkan region to approach us, because the goal is really to put all the energy inside and to help the 6 countries to be present for the students to develop the region. So we are more than welcome to be here, and we are glad to be invited. So it's just like an offer and a welcome that we will be active in the next years here. So that was just a small comment.
Perfect, thank you. I was alerted at the beginning that maybe a representative from Kosovo was also here with us. Yeah, oh, perfect. Welcome.
Hello, everybody. My name is Elham Silmani Recepi, and I come from Kosovo Erasmus Plus office. It was a pleasure to be with you, and I was very interested to be a part of this seminar, as I am acting coordinator from September of this year in Kosovo Erasmus Plus. I hope that during the day in this seminar I gain a lot of new things from you. Kosovo Erasmus Plus office is a focal point in the field of higher education institution in Kosovo and contributes to improving awarenesses, visibility, relevance, effectiveness, impact of the international dimension of Erasmus Plus program to all higher education and stakeholders in Kosovo. The main higher education development, I think, was not just at structural level, as the higher education reform processes were implemented according to the Bologna principles, aiming to assist all Western Balkans countries to modernize their higher education systems and become part of the European higher education areas. The main aspiration in the Western Balkan region was detected at development of international cooperation with strong support of European Union higher education programs for reform and modernization of the higher education as Tempus was and currently through Erasmus Plus as an integrated program for education, training, youth and sport. As most of the countries of Western Balkan mentioned beyond 2020, each Erasmus Plus office maybe will be Erasmus Plus program office. Last month, it was a government of state together with parliament. They elected and they voted, and there was approved that Erasmus Plus will be from 2020 as a Erasmus Plus program. And as my colleague said, mentioned that it is not a decision that Kosovo Erasmus Plus will do, but it is decision of other stakeholders. We are just like implementers.
Perfect, thank you. The colleague from Albania will be joining us after 11, so if any of you are interested in talking with her, just give Maria a nudge and she will introduce you. Okay, perfect. So we've opened many topics and I wished for you to have a bit of a break. So before we finished, we heard all the most important keywords. We talked about quality, we talked about recognition, we talked about and spoke about the changing of the mindset, which of course is a very important element in the context of Erasmus Plus, in the context of internationalization. We have talked about taxation a bit, but maybe to pick up from what our colleague mentioned and to make a conclusion note. So where do you see your countries in the future years? Serbia is as a partner country, already discussing on different aspects from mobility window. Macedonia already thinking about the quality, checking on ACA. Montenegro thinking about promotion and how to get all of the countries, all of the institutions participating. And of course Bosnia with all of the different entities which, I mean, Bernd said that we're schizophrenic, not only in your country, but your country can be Europe in a small dimension, you know. So many of us, but yet establishing one space. So, and maybe in your final notes, just a thought, if you have thought about it, how can ACA help? So, Manja, maybe if you could.
I would not say that that our priority is promotion and such, but more promotion is one of tools to internationalization, let's say, in a way. Our priority is to high quality programs, high quality institutions, and all of these issues that we are discussing are actually mechanisms to come to this goal, to be a good point of reference as an institution for other institutions that would recognize us and would like to come and spend a period of studies, for example, or period at our universities, and would like to make projects with us. The role of ACA, I see this seminar as well an opportunity for people to get to know each other more, especially because it's quite an international setting of people, and to try to find fields of interest where we could jointly cooperate. As far as Montenegro is concerned, we cooperate with many countries from the European Union, of course from the Western Balkans. It's quite traditional, but still it would be good to extend this partnership scheme to some new horizons, to some new partners, to some new institutions. For example, we had Irina last year in Montenegro, just as an expert, as a part of our higher education reform expert team activity that helped us with regards to internationalization, which was at that time also one of the issues of importance for us. So in that sense, I think that we could cooperate on joint projects in the future, primarily meaning on Erasmus Plus, coming from National Erasmus Plus office, it's somehow quite natural to mention it, but of course, especially given the changed circumstances now that Serbia is on the other side as a program country, it is a great challenge for the remaining Western Balkan countries to absorb the funds also because I mean, Serbia is the biggest country of all the countries in Western Balkan, and it was quite natural that it used the maximum of the budget.
Mm-hmm.
But still, it will be really challenging for us to make use of the funds. But still, I think that I can speak also from the Montenegrin point of view. If we take into account that in the last call for capacity building, for example, we had 44 applications. I mean, not all, four coordinated by Montenegro. And if you take into account that at that time we had 3 institutions of higher education, so I think that it's really, if we talk about, so we can play with the statistics and these numbers, but it is really quite a good number, and it really shows really serious approach towards it. And also it is good to mention that, for example, it is not only that the public universities using these funds and opportunities, but we also have representatives of private universities, and one of our private universities is also coordinating one project involving all higher education institutions, various ministries, because it concerns health issues, Ministry of Education, Ministry of Health, different non-governmental institutions. So I think that, and I hope that there will not be a problem to absorb these funds, but it will be just different, you know. It's, we got used to have Serbia as a partner in the Western Balkan region. We have now to explain that. But it will be also challenging with respect to international credit mobility, because for those areas or faculties that have perhaps linguistic barriers, it will be quite good to make use of these mobilities to Serbia or vice versa. So, you know, I started with, but yeah, in the end, I think that it is a good opportunity, events like this, to get people know each other and establish partnerships, and of course take part in jointly different projects together. So I hope that this will end up in the end with some joint project for capacity building, because I think we have quite a lot of material for it.
Perfect, thank you. Macedonia.
As academic cooperation association, it also can be in line with the Erasmus Plus program, for a reason that most of the higher education institutions, this kind of meetings, cooperation between universities that are in the Association of Academic Cooperation Association, it can be also in line with the Erasmus Plus. So for the partner countries, this is especially important for a reason that internalization, signing of bilateral agreements, interinstitutional agreements, it's also main point for the higher education in the field of Erasmus Plus. Most of the Erasmus Plus offices and citizens of the partner countries, maybe they are not very much aware about institutional approach and also about the procedure for selection of students and staff from the universities, but the main point is the bilateral and institutional agreements between higher education institutions. Also, I think that ACA can be a line between universities and signing of these kind of agreements. And after 2019, this kind of interinstitutional and bilateral agreements, it will be online, and this process it will be simplified. So I hope that this association can be a point between universities from the Western Balkan and universities from the partner countries. Also, as a partner country, the Western Balkan countries, they can be, as a colleague from the Serbia mentioned, they can be part of the Erasmus Plus. They can be involved in the capacity building projects at the centralized level, decentralized projects. Also, they can be involved in the students' mobilities between program and partner countries. So there are opportunities between program and partner countries, but as ACA association, they can be in line between universities, in line between Erasmus Plus offices, national agencies, and also between students, and also they can be involved as academic staff that are involved in this ACA association. They can be maybe focal point from academic point of view and institutional approach between governments and universities. They have I'm quite sure that representatives from ACA association, they can be influenced at the governments and also at the parliaments. So this is also a point for the partner countries in which way they can be influenced, at stakeholders in the countries. So ACA association, I hope that in the near future they will organize also this kind of events. And I hope that when the National Agency from Macedonia will organize events for the higher education institutions, national agencies, Western Balkan alumni associations, we will invite also representatives from ACA association, and I think that this scope can work in future, and also after 2020, after the new program, maybe it will be called Erasmus Plus, maybe it will be called only as Erasmus, maybe with new name. We cannot now from this point of view, but I think that cooperation can be a little bit closer and deeper between the higher education institutions, ACA association, Erasmus Plus offices, and also national agency. For a reason, national agencies, because we have much more experience with the lifelong learning program, youth in action program, also with the Erasmus Plus program. So this scope, I think that in the future can work much better.
Okay, thank you. And Nemanja and Suet, a couple of closing words, if you will, please.
Okay, maybe I'll just say a couple of words about ACA. You know, what can ACA do? I think, as I understood from your presentation, is ACA is basically an association of national higher education agencies, more or less, if I understood it correctly. So, as such, it is in a very good position to really communicate the needs and concerns of its founding members, of the agencies. And I think that national agencies have some specific issues or concerns, but there are also some common. And I think if you can identify some common concerns and issues, requests and needs, it's good that you identify them and you try to communicate those needs with the countries or all relevant stakeholders from the region, either national Erasmus offices, agencies or ministries, whoever. So I think you're a focal point and well positioned to really to match the needs. And I think that right now, at this particular point of time, most national agencies, I can't say for all, but most are or should be interested in enhancing cooperation with the region, especially in the light of the recent developments, Serbia becoming program countries. So with the remaining four, the budget remains the same. So you are naturally, as national agencies, are interested in cooperating, enhancing cooperation with the remaining four in order to use the funds available that you have for the region. So I think I have already seen this trend, because I have been contacted by numerous national agencies from the various program countries trying to organize some promotional contact seminar events in our country to really try to learn more about our education systems and the institutions in order to really to encourage more cooperation. So from that point of view, I think that seminars as such are very good, and I really appreciate this opportunity, because this is one of the occasions that we can meet all and exchange our opinions, concerns, and also inform each other about whatever we need to learn. And I think, you know what you can do, but I really welcome your role, and I think your role is very important and crucial in basically communicating the needs. And I really thank you for this opportunity. And I think that there will be many more opportunities in the future But we should continue to cooperate, because if individual national agencies communicate directly without you, it's possible, but I think it would be more effective if common concerns, and so basically it will be basically more efficient way of communicating. So this is some of the suggestions that I see, and I really think that of course more can be done, and then I'm sure that you will do your best, and we all need to do our best to make sure that the result is achieved, so that we have increased cooperation between our countries, and we are involved as many. I mean, Erasmus is just one of the tools at our disposal. It's just one. It is, I agree, it is very, very important tool, but it is not the only one. So there are other tools and means to be used, and I really encourage all of you to try to use as many tools as possible and funds to just enhance cooperation. Thank you.
Thank you. Nemanja?
Well, just a quick wrap up. If I can a little bit go around the first question, so not where I see, but where would I like to see Serbia in 10 years in that sense, is that all of the student population knows about, they know about Erasmus Plus and CPUS and all the exchange programs, whatever the equivalents will be then. And some significant number, some significant part has already taken the mobilities or exchanges, and more of them even plan to. So in that sense, that would be the best. And there are lots of foreign students from all around the world there. Yeah. So in that sense, yeah, that would be something. And where I see ACA, and also the question where we will probably as a country jump in very fast, is the recognition of learning in countries that are outside of the European higher education area, because of the recognition of the learning and spend time there. So yeah, I think you could help out with that problem. I mean, yeah.
Perfect, thank you. And yes, I shall wrap up now. We have seriously went into your coffee break, so I've just gotten permission to extend it for 10 minutes. Okay, at 11:15 we meet back here. Thank you all for your questions. I hope we've responded to all of them. Thank you for all of your comments, and please don't forget, it's mingling time now. So at Brussels they call it World Cafe. So do the World Cafe. Thank you very much.